reaping what you sow. That is the mantra, not just for the Dodgers. That's the mantra for all the teams in baseball during this time in spring training, preparing for the season. Reaping what you sow, meaning investing in their prospects, into their farm system, looking to see, hey, who are the guys that can potentially make the roster this year? Who are the guys that can help us out in September and August? This is the perfect time in spring training to get a good look at the guys you have down in your farm system, and that's what we're going to break down today. A lot of the I have a great feeling about the youth movement, you can say, in baseball. A lot of great young talent in the prospect ranks, and we're going to get into that. I know, Dylan, you've had your eyes on quite a few guys who are in camp currently. Who are your go-to prospects?
So I love Jackson Merrill for the San Diego Padres. I think that he is going to climb the ranks and make it to the big league level. If he could make the roster out of camp, I would not be shocked if Jackson Merrill is on the active roster when the San Diego Padres open up the season. He was a young kid that they got to start the year. He's someone that has really made strides so far in his young career. You've seen him play a plethora of positions as well. He's got someone that he's someone that can hit the ball. They need players on that team. They only have two players on their active roster that are outfielders. Fernando
Hmm.
Tatis and Jose Azocar are the only two players on their roster that are outfielders. So I still think they could have one more move left in the tank, but I don't know what they want to do there to get creative. Obviously, Ha-Seong Kim is the shortstop, but definitely something to look at there. I think Jackson Merrill's a big name that is shining so far through spring training.
Yeah, yeah. So I have quite a few guys here, and we can bounce off each other. But the first person I'm going to talk about, I'm going to tie it into the team he's playing with, and I what I see in the Washington Nationals currently, they kind of remind me of the Baltimore Orioles a few years ago, right? They have a lot of young talent stored away, whether it was from trades, being bad enough to draft highly, and I think they've done a pretty good job drafting and making deals and getting a good return on trades. James Wood is having a great start to spring training. He gives me Josh Bell vibes. Do you see that in James Wood,
I
or
do,
am I
I
the only
do.
one that thinks that?
You stole that right from me. I was ready to go James Wood. That was my
But
next guy queued
but
up.
you can still talk about him. I just wanted to highlight him with the Nationals.
Yeah.
He's not my main person that I'm highlighting with the Nationals. But they got James Wood, Robert Hassel, Brady House. But the one player I do want to highlight, their number one prospect, in Dylan Cruz. I like this guy. I didn't like him at LSU because I'm a Florida Gators fan, and it hurt seeing him tear up the Florida Gators. But he gives me a glimpse of a young Trey Young, or I'm sorry, not a young Trey Young. This isn't basketball. A young Trey Turner. He can spray the ball around the field. He's always making good contact. Has really good speed. Can command the outfield. I think the Nats have a for sure productive future big leaguer in Dylan Cruz.
Yeah, I think that the Nationals are building something the way you talk about it. Like the young talent that they have is just off the charts. Like players that can step up and make big league rosters. I think Cruz, being a college player, definitely has a faster track to the big leagues. But I want to go back to James Wood just for 1 second here and talk. I love James Wood. James Wood is someone who he hit 26 bombs in the minor leagues last year. He was one of the top prospects in the Padres system. Obviously, the Juan Soto trade sends him over there along with Mackenzie Gore, who he's kind of disappointed. But look at
Yeah.
James Wood in terms of what he can bring to the table. A left-handed stick that just drives the baseball. He steps in that box and just hits absolute tanks. I think what he could bring to the table is a power speed combo, play solid right field. I think he's someone that could definitely impact this team. He could also, I wouldn't rule it out, making the roster out of camp. He's definitely a stick that will see some time. If not, he might be one of those service time casualties that take place towards April or May in terms of when he will break the club. But James Wood is definitely someone I have my eye on and someone who flashes home run potential. Last year really was a breakout year for him. Still only 21 years old as well.
Yeah, huge fan of James Wood, and transitioning to another big hefty lefty. but into the AL East, Spencer Jones for the New York Yankees. I don't think opening day he'll be on the roster, but we will see him at some point this year, I believe. Dylan, I got a question for you. Who has been the last hitter that the Yankees have developed?
Greg Bird was a whiff. I guess you could say Gary Sanchez was a whiff. Oswald Cabrera, Peraza, whatever they are, they suck. Um, they got Glaber in a trade. You can't say it was Glaber.
Right.
Um, truly drafted and developed, it's got to be Judge.
Aaron Judge. He's going to be the first hitter the Yankees have developed since Aaron Judge, who is that's his comp. That's Spencer Jones' comp. Everybody thinks that they're very similar in their game, and I see it. Everybody sees it. Uh, Brian Cashman came out and said when they were looking for trades this past offseason, opposing teams were always bringing up Spencer Jones. So a lot of teams admired the potential of Spencer Jones. They all saw something in him. How they were able to shield him from the Padres and the Juan Soto trade is still incredible to me. But if he comes up and shows out, there's a pretty packed outfield in the Bronx with Judge, Soto, Verdugo, Trent Grisham, Oswaldo Cabrera, and potentially Spencer Jones. That can be a good problem to have if I'm Aaron Boone and the Yankees. We saw him with that flash of power the other day, the 470-foot bomb. I'm excited to see what that looks like in Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, it's definitely. I think he can provide a lot of value to that lineup too. Definitely from the young standpoint, they need young baseball players, and that's someone that can definitely step up there for them.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. I'll go to my last player here, and then you can go to however players you have left. Last one I want to talk about, probably my favorite prospect right now, Wyatt Langford in the Texas Rangers system. He was the 4th overall pick last year, and he's currently the 6th overall prospect. But Dylan, listen to what he did in the minor leagues last year. He got drafted in July, and he made it all the way up to Double-A. He batted 360, 10 home runs with 30 RBIs, and an OPS of 1.157, and a 161 ABs in the minor leagues last year. That's insane. That is insane. And if you also think about it, the Rangers lack depth in their outfield. This is what their outfield looks like right now. Evan Carter, he's the 5th overall prospect, Adolis Garcia, and Travis Jankowski. Dylan, he can without a doubt make the opening day roster and make an impact day one.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think Langford brings a lot to the table. You mentioned the numbers; it's just insane to start a career in terms of where that's going. One more name I want to bring up, and then I have one little teaser that's kind of a heartfelt prospect towards the end here. But right here, the last one that I'll bring up first is Owen Casey with the Chicago Cubs. Minor League Player of the Year last year, 289, 25 plus bombs. He was someone. Now, if you remember back when the Cubs made this big trade with the San Diego Padres with the Yu Darvish trade, the Cubs got back like 4 prospects that were 17, 18 years old. They didn't care that they weren't top name prospects. They didn't care that they didn't get a top 10 guy in their system. All they wanted was all these young kids that the Cubs tried to develop. And right now it's worked out pretty well with some of the names they got there. But the front runner for one of the top names is Owen Casey. And Owen Casey's someone that can. I don't think he might come up at some point this year for the Chicago Cubs. But you look at what he can bring, that power combination. They have him working out at first base. Obviously, now it doesn't hurt. You have Matt Mervis in the system. Michael Busch got traded for. Bellinger's back. But you still have the center field depth with the entire outfield depth really in that Cubs system. But you look at an Owen Casey, he's just another left-handed stick to a lineup that still lacks left-handed power. He could be someone that works his way up. He finished the year in Double-A last year. He'll probably start in Triple-A after posting 289 numbers last year. I think he'll start in Triple-A, and you could see him up towards the end of the season. And if barring any injury, any season-ending injury, he might have a faster track to the bigs than what we expect.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm really excited to see his growth and what he can potentially do out in Wrigley Field. Now, moving on to
I got one more here.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
One more thing, kind of a full circle moment here. So last year, I covered a kid in high school by the name of Colt Emerson, and he played at John Glenn High School, one of the schools I covered when I was in the sports reporter days, and interviewed the kid ready for his big senior year, projected first round pick. Season goes on. I'm there at his final game, interviewing him before the end of his final game, and he's looking forward to the MLB draft. Then a couple months later, I'm sitting there at Buffalo Wild Wings in New Concord, Ohio, when Colt gets his name called by the Seattle Mariners. And he was selected a top 20 pick there for Seattle in that system. So it was really cool just to kind of see that full circle moment come along. He raked in the minor leagues last year for a first round pick out of all high school players, 18 years old, just tore up the minor leagues. And won a championship with the Modesto Nuts in Low A. So worked his way through that. Yesterday, he made his spring training debut for the Seattle Mariners. He walked and struck out, and he was 0 for 2 in that game. But still, a full circle moment for someone who, within a span of a year, I meet, cover him throughout his high school, his final year, his senior year, interact with his parents and all that stuff. They're on draft day, and finally making his spring training debut yesterday.
I didn't know that. I didn't know he's with the Mariners right now in camp down in Arizona. I had no idea. And what was the minor league team he played for last year?
The Modesto Nuts.
What a name.
They all got
you got to love minor leagues.
I love it. Crash Pandas, the Jumbo Shrimp.
That's amazing.